Steve, we just actually had a question from Olympia about just clarifying for a UX designer, how big a role is code?
I'm of the school where I don't think coding for a designer is a particularly necessary skill unless you're a front-end designer. If you're a front-end designer, absolutely learn to code and learn to code well, because inevitably somebody's going to pick up your bits and pieces and turn them into a real front end. But for the kind of design that I do and that Nat does, less so, because we're not actually working with that front end stuff until quite late in projects. We're working with understanding why we're doing something and understanding what people are doing with tools or what they're doing with services or what they're doing with products, and how that might change. So a lot of what I do specifically and Nat as well is about doing stuff well before we actually prototype anything, and then if we need a front end coder, we'll hire someone in to do that work for us. They're good at their job, and I'm not good at that bit of the job, so I don't do it. And so we go and get a specialist.
Maybe I also give you a little quick answer to that question. I think in terms of the whole UX process, you can go from an idea right through to a feature going live. So in that process is incredibly large. So if you become a generalist and you're in a very small company, it may be useful for you to be coming up with a few interaction patterns, but that's really a UX designer, even into a UI designer role. And that's put, and if you try to spread yourself too thin, you'll end up not very good at research, not very great at UI. You'll miss out some UX steps, which will end up getting you into a bit of a mess. It's essentially,
100%.
And essentially what UX does in the journey is it delves into the real problems before you start to build, and it starts to find out exactly what you need to build, which is going to be best for the users, best for the business outcome, and solves all those problems before it goes into screen design and coding. But if you go into the end part of UX, which would be the UX design, when there's a lot more of the research has been done, then it may be useful to learn a few coding skills to make some interactive prototypes, which maybe if you don't have that coder available, well, that'll only exist in kind of smaller companies, smaller teams. But one of the biggest problems, which I was doing, I had a project for HSBC, and we were pushing out, this is an agency a while back, and we were building out lots of different journeys for banking and transfer journeys. And they're really simple. Once the UI is set, it's really easy to start getting it moving. And essentially we pulled together a kind of HTML prototype, and all the UX designers were coding to make things happen a lot quicker, because they were very simple changes to the journeys, which meant that we had prototypes out really quickly. But on that hand, it was pretty much one day of training for any UX designers to use this system, so they didn't need any coding experience. So in answer to your question, Olympia, I don't think you need to remotely consider it now. Really get the basics right to start with.
Yeah. Get good at doing the design stuff before you need to worry about doing the coding stuff. And the design is everything from the gut feel nuance through to actually doing the practical tools that we're going to learn to use.
Yeah. But there's new tools out there like Framer, which is really good for mocking up quick screen design, which instead of learning coding, you learn a kind of hybrid before the code level, but uses a bit of coding skills. Yeah. And they're very...
InDesign have just released their new... not InDesign. InVision have just released their new studio product. There's a whole range of stuff. Yeah. Pick one.